Hello, teams. Welcome to our fourth training on Zoom. Today, we're going to be talking about evangelism and so many other things. I'm so glad you're here live with us, but also if you're watching it recorded, please follow us today. We have some very important information about Visa, but we're going to start doing our final Portuguese lesson. And today, if you've been following us, we're going to do an assessment to see how good you're speaking Portuguese and ready to talk in Brazil. So I am going to ask you to, if you're here with us, unmute yourselves, and we're going to do our final assessment from what we learned, some of the key phrases that we use on the trip. So here goes. The first one you should know, you should even have, if you've been before, you should have a t-shirt with on it. But our first is bom dia. Can we do it together? Bom dia.
Yeah.
Bom dia. Yes. If you remember the am and the and, it kind of mutes. It's kind of mute. It's like com, how you don't say the B. Bom, the am, you don't really mark it. So it's bom dia. So you sound more like a local. Okay. Now, if it's afternoon, you're going to say it with me. Boa tarde.
Tarde.
Boa tarde. Good, good, good. And then if it's nighttime, you can say for either good evening or good night. We can say it together. Boa noite. Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, something else that we learned is how to engage with them. And one of the best ways to know someone is to get to learn their name. So if you would like to ask someone about their name, you're going to say, qual é seu nome? But we're going to say all at once. Qual é o seu nome? Qual é o seu nome? Beautiful, beautiful. And once they answer the name that you may or may not understand, you're going to answer with your name, and you're going to say, meu nome é. That's an open sound. Meu nome é. And for that person, you're going to only use your first name. So, meu nome é. And then you say your name. And then at the end, after you get to know them and it's time to say goodbye and you say, oh, I would love to say God bless you. That's another phrase that you can use a lot on your trip, and it's Deus te abençoe. Again, you're going to use your nose for that one. Deus te abençoe. Yes. And that C with the snake on the bottom throws you off. They always going to have the sound. That's called a cedilha. Deus te abençoe. Wonderful. And then if you have not, we really recommend for you to download either Duolingo or Google Translate to assist you with all your learning of Portuguese, or if you want to use it at one point during your trip, the Google Translate is a very helpful app. Also, do not forget to download WhatsApp. Most of our teams already have their link, and they already have their group set up. The other ones are coming up. This is also a great tool if you want to communicate with your family at some point on your trip. So you can ask your family to download WhatsApp, but mostly we're going to be using this to communicate with your team and with our staff in Brazil. So make sure you download WhatsApp.
Thank you, Priscilla. All right, let's transition now to talk about Village Collection Supply list of the dozens of stories that I could tell. I use this one in the last couple of years because it so beautifully illustrates the value of what we're about to talk about, and that's the supplies that you could consider bringing on your trip in a checked bag. This was a couple of years ago, men's ministry. This guy on the left did everything humanly possible to disrupt what we were doing. We were sharing with the men the gospel, sharing about life, about the Bible. And this guy was using his trimmer as loud as he could. He was burning stuff. You can't tell in this picture as well, but back behind it's very smoky because he was burning everything. He lit a dead palm tree on fire. It's like the apocalypse. I mean, this thing almost exploded. It was pretty impressive what he was doing, but we just kept going and the Lord blessed us. The wind kept blowing the smoke away. And interesting thing happened at the end, we had some soccer balls we were going to give to the guys, and we said, who's the captain? Well, guess who it was? It was Mr. Disruptor there to the left. He comes, he gets the balls, and afterwards, he played soccer with the team. The missionary that was with us, Abimael, some of you have been on trips with him, great man of God, said this man always was disruptive when he was there. It was the first time he'd ever seen him interact with the team. And the team said he was excellent player, but he actually backed off. He could have probably totally dominated us. But anyway, a simple gift of something so relevant to their lifestyle can really make inroads to help with the gospel. And I saw that coming to a full demonstration in this guy that was disrupting us to the point for the first time he actually engaged with the team because we spoke his love language of soccer. So let's talk about the Village Collection supply list. Just a few general things about it. You can find what you can bring by going to our website, amazonoutreach.org, click on Resource tab, and then under Important Team Information. I know that's several steps, but if you keep digging around, you'll find it on our website under Resources. But there's one that's like number 6. I can't remember the exact number, but it says Important Team Information. Number 6, it'll say Village Supply Collection. So there's also a lot of other things in there that you can bring, like for if you're a provider, we've got some doctors that are bringing some medicines, our formularies there. You can see what we can bring besides over-the-counter stuff. There's a number to contact, an email, David Keener, who oversees our pharmacy from the U.S. That's some supplies you can also bring. But mostly what you're going to do that's going to apply to most of us here is for men's and women's ministry. Some teams in the past used to bring family bags when we could bring 70-pound suitcases for free. Now we've had to be a lot more strategic. We can't bring as much because airlines keep getting more and more expensive and starting charging for checked bags. So now we condense it down to just men's and women's bags. And the way it works is we use these to draw people to what I consider the most spiritual, most evangelistic part of the day. That's in the men's and women's ministry. And especially with the guys, if you just say, hey guys, we're going to meet at 2:00 under this tree or in this pavilion or at the church. If you tell them, and also we have fishing hooks and fishing line and sunglasses and caps, it's going to double or triple the number of men that will come. And the way we put it is like, we don't have enough for everybody, but for those who come to the meeting, we'll have special gifts for you. So that really does help. It's really a hook. The women are more prone to go, but even that can help with women. And so on the Village Collection supply list, you're going to see there's a section for over-the-counter stuff for the pharmacy, for the men's, for the women's, VBS. That's a whole different animal. The VBS is something that is going to be just for your team leader to figure out what you're bringing, and we'll talk more about that in a second. A few other things to consider about the Village Collection supply list. It's very difficult to plan these things, so don't overthink it. Some of you that are highly detail-oriented, it's going to drive you crazy. You will probably need to create a spreadsheet or a sign-up genius. There's different tools that you can share with your team to say, hey, I'm bringing this. A lot of times it's hard to keep up, especially if your team's not located in one church, to know what the left might not know what the right hand's doing. So, but you want to try, do the best you can, so you don't end up with 50 soccer balls and no fishing hooks. And that's up to each team to figure out their method of figuring out what you have. But at the end of the day, they're not expecting anything. Whatever you bring will be a blessing. Whatever you bring, you'll use. And so again, don't stress too much. This is such a rough estimate. I mean, you may go on a trip and these numbers get blown away, and others, there's not this many, but we just give as a general rule to give you some idea of how to plan. It's plan on 30 women per day. Most of you will be in 4 villages. So you're looking at 120, about 20 men bags per day. These are super conservative. If you can do more, I would say a really good goal would be to have about 200 bags. That would definitely, I think, cover most of your trips. But again, you're just going to use what you get, what gets collected. And again, don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff. It's a good way to get your church involved, but we use whatever we have. Mentioned VBS materials. This 50 kids per village is just a total guess. I've seen where we've had 100. I've seen where we have 15. So 50 is a good number. You'll have 2 lessons, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So you'll need enough crafts materials for 50 in the morning, 50 in the afternoon. And then, well, before I talk about the soccer balls, if you have more than enough, then you can give that to the missionaries or to the church that we're working with. And if you don't have enough, then you run out. I've had that happen before. Village number 4, we just don't even mention gifts. Or if we have a few left, we'll use them as special prizes in the men's or women's ministry, like, whoever answers a question, whoever's the oldest, whoever has the most kids, we can have fun with if you don't quite have enough for that last village. But we strongly encourage you, if you don't have enough for everybody that's going to be in the men's or the women's, then don't give it at all, because we don't want to create hard feelings. Last suggestion on this, if you get in a village and you think you have enough and you don't, and there's not enough any left on the boat, the way I've done this in the past, okay, who's the oldest? And we line them up, oldest, the youngest, and when we run out, at least the adults get it, and then the younger men or women don't. And we make it work. It may not be perfect, but we figure it out as we go. All right, Priscilla, would you tell them about some supplies? This is for the village, but there's also some things that you can bring for the boat.
Yes, let's go into the boat supply collection. This list is also under resources, but just a reminder, these are actually optional, but you might want to have it. Most of these items you cannot buy in the Amazon. But one thing that's very important is a small bottle of Lysol concentrate. We use that for triggers. I'm going to ask Steve to actually detail, because he has a whole system going. 2 duct tapes, that's something really hard to find in Amazon. Sharpie, we also don't have that, and you might need it, especially for VBS. Ziplocs, we do not have that. So different sizes. Make sure you have that with your team supplies. Also, peanut butter, we do not have that. So peanut butter and jam, if that's your jam, make sure you bring one for the team, maybe one big one for the whole team. Pancake syrups, we also do not have that, because pancake is an American thing. So make sure you bring that. Also, for the last day, we usually have a party. Now, this party can be as elaborate or as simple as you would like to do as a team. But if you would like to do that for the last day, we have a party going on for the translators, for the volunteers, for the crew. And I'm telling you, by that last night, you're going to wish you had done something special, because it's a time to celebrate that week. So you can bring some party supplies and maybe some gifts or some treats for the translators. Just remember, if you're bringing candy, chocolate candy, they can melt. So we can talk about more later. We have some ideas for you. And also, if you're doing one of my favorite ministries, which is the photo ministry, your team would have to bring a Bluetooth printer that will connect to your phone. And also you're gonna need the inserts, but you can check on the village supply links. I can send again the link for that, so your team will be ready to go.
Yeah, surprisingly, they have cell phones in the villages. What they don't have is printed pictures, and these are very valuable to them. And it is about $280 now, I think, for the portable printer. That's like 200 plus pictures, which should be enough for most trips. But it is a beautiful ministry. And again, that's in your village. All of this is in one document called Village Collection Supply List on our resources page and AmazonOutreach.org. So now let's talk about really exciting stuff, luggage. So the airline that you're on, you should be able to access your itinerary and manage missions under documents. It should have your flight. If the tickets haven't been purchased, the contract will be there. So you'll know which airlines. 95% of you are being flying American and Copa. So that I can speak to that more than I can the others. Some are United. I think 1 or 2 are Delta, LATAM. So there's a few variations of that, but the majority of you will be doing the same thing. So if you're not on American and Copa, just make sure you research their bag policies. Most of the teams this year, your Copa flight will not, the check bag will be included, but you always have to be ready. just in case. For most of you, your domestic flight, whether it's American or United, will not be covered unless you have status. So if you have status and other people are on your itinerary, then if you've got extra check bags for free, bless some people on your team. But you do need to be prepared, and that's why we've streamlined our collection supply list. So they will allow you to have a free carry-on and a backpack. There's actually a great training video that I do to show you how you can live for 1 week with your carry-on and your backpack that follows our personal packing list. Priscilla will be sending that out to you to be prepared. So as I mentioned, you'll get a free, and it needs to be 50 pounds. If you're over 50 pounds, they're going to charge you extra. So make sure you weigh your bags before you go to the airport. And like I said, unless you have status, you can plan on, I just say plan on $50. It's usually less than that, but it is an expense that you may incur. Obviously, well, if you don't fly much, you may not know this, but if you have any liquids over 3 ounces, and I have this happen about every 5th trip, somebody's got their sunscreen, their off, their shampoo, and their carry-on bag, and it gets thrown away when they go through security. So don't be that's not going to happen to you because you're preparing. You know that anything over 3 ounces has to go inside your check bag. Some teams even just put it all in one big check bag. However you want to do that is up to you. Let's see. I don't remember that one being on there. Anyway, reduced check bags, you can consolidate. That's what I was just talking about. All right. Just bring the items. If you do bring a check bag, please bring extra items that are on the team's collection supply list. You can, if your bag's not worth 50 bucks, if that's what it's to get there and back, or 40 or 80, whatever it ends up being, you can leave your bag on the boat, your check bag. So that is an option if you bring a really old piece of luggage and it's not worth it to you. These bags are often used to haul supplies into the village, so don't bring anything really nice. If you got nice name brand luggage, this wouldn't be a good trip to bring it. Most of you will probably have a packing party. Some of our teams are really spread out. This doesn't happen, but it's really a good idea if you have a bunch of supplies like your VBS supplies, if you got a bunch of the same thing, you got a bunch of sunglasses, a bunch of hats, it's best to divide it up just in case the rare occasion that your check bag doesn't make it, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen. You don't want everything of the same thing in a bag. So it's a good way to spread out your supplies at a packing party where you get together. And last but not least, our friends at the Bucket Ministry will actually cover your check bag fee if you'll take filters down for them. So it wouldn't leave you much room to carry much, but you could definitely get your shampoo, sunscreen, DEET, and you don't really need more than 8 ounces of each of those. Well, unless you have a lot of hair like Priscilla, you might need more than 8 ounces. But anyway, you could probably just carry your personal over 3 ounce liquids and bring down filters. You'll be blessing one of our ministry partners. They actually have a container on our new property where they're storing their filters. And so a win-win. Just go to thebucketministry.org to get a hold of Chris or someone at the ministry, and they'll work out the details. So I want to encourage you to do that. They need filters to be brought down. And so got a lot of people going this year. If anybody would do it just out of the goodness of your heart to help them, they will reimburse you any expenses on luggage. All right. I think that's it. So Priscilla, if you would tell us about evangelism and culture. How can we make the biggest impact? This is much more exciting than luggage or visas.
Evangelism and culture. And the reason why we talk about this, it's because we are going there, we're reminding them that they're not forgotten. These are the people that feel like nobody knows about them, that they're in the middle of nowhere, and that they're forgotten. And we go there to remind them that they're not forgotten by God. So as we know more about the culture, I can tell you this from someone that lives in another culture. When someone brings me a pizza with fork and knife, because that's how we eat it in Brazil, I feel like, oh, I'm seeing someone knows me. So that's why we talk so much about culture. So one of the ways that we can use the culture to connect with them in evangelism is looking at their lifestyle. And in the villages, it's so easy to connect to the times in the Bible and the stories of Jesus, because there's fishing in the Bible. And there's fishing is reality for them, and the rivers, agriculture, soccer, cooking, wells. There's so many stories in the Bible and the stories of Jesus and the Gospels that revolve around those things. So those are the things. I remember being VBS and teaching them about the boat in a storm. They know about it. The kids know about it more than most kids would. So there's so much in their lifestyle that we can use to engage into a gospel conversation with them. The second thing is the base of Brazilian culture we talked about on the last training. It's relational. It's about families. It's about friends. So a great segue is to ask them about their families. Show them your family. You might bring a printed picture. If you have your phone with you, I know they would love to see your family, know about your kids. They're usually like, oh, you have kids. So they love to know about that. Another thing about that section is ask them if you can pray for their family. And for them, that means you care. In the Brazilian culture, and when you offer to pray for someone and their family, that means you care. The other thing is names. The names of the village, something that Steve does a lot. He wants to know the meaning of the name of the village, because the names of the village usually have some kind of meaning, either religious meaning or just a beautiful meaning, like good luck, boa sorte, or Bela Vista, beautiful view. And you can use that into a gospel conversation as well, and talk about their reality and how and incorporate Jesus in the gospels. And then don't forget the serving friends, the questions that start with who, what, where, why, when. Sometimes when you are stuck in a conversation, you don't know where to go. Your translator will be there to help you, but you can use one of these serving friends to learn more about them and where they are. And talking about where they are in their faith, you can also use the transitions with diagnostic questions. I've had some people in the villages telling me that they believe in Christ, but they don't believe they're good enough to go to heaven, and Steve, I believe you can talk more about those diagnostic questions, but those are great transitions to have gospel conversations.
Yeah, the diagnostic questions are, if you were to die today, do you know where you'd spend an eternity? Because they very much believe in the afterlife. That's such a great question. And what you're listening for on that question is probably the answer is going to be something about, one, they'll probably say, I don't know. Or if they say, I hope so, or I think so, which is not as common. But then the second question is to see, well, if God were to ask you, when you die many years from now, you're standing before God in heaven, he asks you, why should I let you in? What would you say? And what they answer is what they're trusting in for their salvation. And most of the time, if they will even answer the question, is, well, I try to be a pretty good person. Well, I did good, or whatever. It's usually going to be a works-based answer. And so those two questions really help reveal what is the hope of their salvation. The name Jesus means God is my salvation. That's where we want to get them. We want to get them based in understanding the gospel of grace. And so those are very powerful. Good old evangelism explosion, if anybody remembers that training. Good stuff as far as leading into gospel conversations. All right, well, thank you, Priscilla. Well, speaking of, one of the greatest tools you have for the gospel is your testimony. And I want to spend a few minutes here getting you prepared to use, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then there's Steve and Priscilla and you, that all have a story, and your story is very powerful. You may not know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as good as you should, but you know your story, and you need to be able to tell it well because you're doing it cross-cultural. So it's very important that you get this tightened up a little bit, because most people's testimony is just way too long, ramble too much, tell in not important details. So let me share with you two ways to have the most effective tool of your personal testimony. The first one is what I don't call it. It's called the 15-second testimony. It may seem impossible. How could you possibly tell your testimony in 15 seconds? Well, let me show you how. There's three parts to it. The first is your life before Christ. There was a time in my life And I want you to think of emotion words, power words that could define concisely what your life really felt like. And I think feeling words are the ones that you're going to be looking for. What did it feel like before Christ? And then how you came to Christ. I'm going to give you a simple sentence that you can say it however you want, but I'm going to give you a way that's pretty effective. And then how has your life been like since? And it should be in correlation to what was life before Christ. So let me give you my 15-second testimony. And the first part, I would say, there was a time in my life when I was fearful of going to hell and had no purpose. But I put my faith in Jesus, began to follow him, and now have assurance of my salvation and eternal purpose. Has anything like that ever happened to you? So what I just did, my two key words were, I was fearful of hell. I guess that's more than one word, but and purposelessness. Yours, maybe it was addiction. Maybe yours was depression. Maybe yours was loneliness. Maybe yours was, you fill in the blank. But your life without Christ was empty, and you need to figure out what words best describe your life before. And then as far as how you came to Christ, it's pretty, the simplest way I know to say it is I put my faith in Jesus and began to follow him. I think that's his concise way, because repentance means not just believing mentally, it means you're going way, you go the other way. And that's why it's important to say I put my faith in Jesus and begin to follow him. And then afterwards, for me, I have assurance of my salvation, and I have purpose. So this 15-second testimony becomes this incredible skeleton that you can build your 3-minute testimony. Because if you can do it in 15 seconds, you can certainly do it in 3 minutes, and you just flesh it out. But again, it's so important to figure out what's important, what you really need to leave into it. Because again, we want it 3 minutes because your 3-minute testimony cross-culturally is 6 minutes at least, because it's going to double in time and attention spans, and it's just better to keep it tight. So again, the 3 points of a 3-minute testimony: my life before Christ, how I came to know Christ, and my life since Christ. So I'm going to give a shot at a 3-minute testimony now, and I'm going to flesh out what I just told you in 15 seconds in 3 minutes, or close to. So we're under grace, so if I'm 3 minutes and 15 seconds, so what, right? Okay. I grew up in a very religious home. I heard hellfire, brimstone. Jesus was coming back every single Sunday, and I had the fear of God firmly planted in my heart. And that worked well for me as a child, but as I became a teenager, the allure of the world, what I thought was the coolest, the prettiest girls, the coolest guys, caused me to have to compromise a lot of those convictions about how I should live. And after a few years, I was just fully living a party lifestyle. I was drinking constantly, did some drugs, parties, girls, just everything that goes with that lifestyle. And because of my upbringing, I never fully had peace with that. I can remember coming home from partying all night, and the room would be spinning, and I would begin thinking about, I'm going to go to hell if I die right now. And I maybe it was a little overkill as a child, how much I had instilled in me, but fear is the beginning of wisdom. And I'm so thankful for that, because I never could fully embrace that lifestyle apart from God. I literally remember being in a club one night, and it was a Sunday night. And I always went to church on Sunday nights growing up. And I just remember being convicted, this is not who I'm supposed to be. And that night was really a turning point in my life, that I decided this is not who I am. And I know I had praying parents and grandparents that were in the background. There was this young lady that I dated that really had a lot of character. I was attracted to that, started dating. We got married. Outwardly, I really straightened up a lot. All the partying had gone, all the craziness that I was involved in. And outwardly, I'd really straightened up a lot, but there was still an emptiness inside. In fact, our first year of marriage was really rough. We called it the marriage from hell. We pushed, we shoved, we cursed, didn't know if we were going to make it. And I'll never forget, I was taking a shower one day, fell to my knees, and I just cried out to Jesus. I said, please take control of my life. And I got out of that shower, and I made commitments to the Lord before, but I really wanted life change. And for the first time in my life, I really began to read the Bible for myself. I got where I was reading about an hour a day, and I'll never forget, this was about 6 months in. for the first time in my life, I felt this weight roll off my heart, and I finally understood I am saved. Jesus did everything on the cross for my salvation. It's not anything I can earn. It truly is a gift. And from that day on, that's been 40 years ago, I have never doubted a single day that I belong, I'm a child of God. And he also healed my marriage. We've been married 40 years this year, and we give God all the glory for giving me purpose and the assurance of my salvation through what Jesus did for me on the cross. I don't know how long that was, but you can see, normally I have Priscilla time me, and I'm always usually with him. Did you time me, Priscilla, just out of curiosity?
I did.
Okay.
It was right on the dot, like very close to 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Well, I still got it down to 3 then. But you see how I use 15-second testimony down, and then I can expand it into a 3-minute testimony. Now, you won't talk that fast. We're doing for training purposes. You'll do the pause, and Priscilla and I are going to end this training today. I'm going to pray. She's going to translate to give you an idea. For those of you who never have done cross-cultural speaking, to know you've got to speak of short sentences and pause, and then it's sort of a rhythm is so important when you're doing cross-cultural. But you need to have this down very well. It'll be a powerful tool. Just a few final things before we move on. Some best practices is to practice, practice, practice. As I said, I've heard a lot of testimonies on the river. Most of them are too long. Nobody cares what year it was. Get it down as we taught you. If you get the 15-second, 3-minute, you'll be prepared. Keep it real. One thing I forgot to add, which I typically do at the end, is to say, but you know what? I've still had my struggles. And my wife and I, it's not always been easy, because we don't want to leave it. Hey, if you'll pray this prayer, your life's going to be perfect just like mine. We don't want to leave them with this sense that this is some magic prayer. It's still difficult to be a disciple of Jesus. Flesh is still there. Sin is still a reality. We're still selfish at the core. We're being sanctified daily. So it's very important to not create some unrealistic view of, they need to hear your humanity, to know that you still are a human being and that we still need Christ every day. Don't preach. A number of times people want to preach in their testimony. There's a time for preaching. If you are asked to do your testimony, that is not the time, okay? If we're preaching, there'll be somebody assigned to do that, but sometimes people, instead of talking about themselves, they want to go preach, and I get it. I'm a pastor, but fight that temptation. If you're asked to give testimony, give your testimony. Keep it closed on that, because more than likely you're transitioning to somebody that is going to preach or is going to share the gospel. All right, so speaking of the gospel, Priscilla, if you'd cover some of the evangelism resources that we can know about.
Yes. Let's go into the evangelism resources. Now, we know some churches have their own resources, and you're welcome to bring them if you've used them in mission settings. But our resources will all be listed under resources on our website, amazonoutreach.org. But here's some ideas of things that we've used. So we have the Evangiball. This is one of the most powerful resources we have, because again, it taps into the culture and colors. It's easy for the young kids to relate to. We have a video and a script for you that will be sending with the email. The other resource we've used is the EvangeCube. I believe if you've been around long enough, you've seen the EvangeCube. We have the big ones and we have the regular size ones as well. We should have them on a boat. We also have the Bridge. The Bridge is another great method of evangelism. We can send you some resources, but they're all in our website. And the 3 Circles. The 3 Circles is also an easy way for you to share the gospel, and it's easy for them to understand and relate to. And then there's the Romans Road. That's another one that has been around long enough, but this is a great way for you to connect with people maybe that have even heard the gospel before, but they haven't seen some of those methods. They haven't clicked yet. Some of these methods you're going to need to practice ahead, but some of them you can just practice on the boat with your team as well.
All right. Oh, and by the way, that was Ben Schaefer who's on this call that was in that photo. I think I took that photo. So thanks, Ben. We'll send you the royalty fees. All right, let's talk about visa information again, from the sublime to the mundane, talking about this thing that is come upon us. We've been blessed for the last 2 years. They've been threatening to require visas, and they keep changing it, but they didn't this time. As of April the 10th of 2025, visas are now required to get into the country. So you have to have this and a passport are the two things. You can go without anything else, but you have to have this. And it's not been easy. So let's talk about what we know. As I said, April 10th, it did officially go into effect. So you can apply. This is an e-visa. It's roughly $81. It's good for 10 years. So if you get it this year, you come back. This is a one-time deal for the next decade. So that's good. There is one official place to get your visa. It's called VFS Global. We're going to have the link in our e-visa document. In fact, if you see over here to the right, this is a screenshot of our resources page. We've actually added an e-visa link. All that other stuff we've talked about. If you want the collection supply list, you're going to find it here. If you're doing evangelism and you want to see how to do the e-ball, it's in there. But the e-visa, it's on our website. You're going to click on that, and it's going to give you every link that you need. The link to their official government website. Truth is, everything you need to know is on this link. So please read it thoroughly. Like, there's a place that you need to know about to adjust your photo. That has been the biggest challenge people have had that are trying to get visas right now. But we'll have the link. Everything you do has to be in a JPEG. So if you don't know what a JPEG is, we're going to recommend spending an extra $90 for a third-party visa company to help with that application. The reason being is with an app, and we're going to give you a link to the one we recommend. There's other third-party. It's called iVisa, not to confuse you with the e-visa. E-visa is what you're getting. iVisa is the name of a third-party company. And you can download their app. And I did this a year ago when they were threatening to require visas, and then they dropped it. But I went ahead and I tried doing it on the Brazil website. I got frustrated after the third or fourth time downloading things that they said wasn't right. I downloaded the iVisa app. I took a picture of everything on my phone. I sent it to them. They sized it. They adjusted it. They turned it into the right format, and got it processed within the same day. So I know that's a lot of money extra, but again, if you're not tech savvy, it's probably worthwhile just to go ahead and start out with iVisa and not even bother with the VFS Global, which is the official Brazilian site, because this company will do it for you. You can apply even before your airfare. We've discovered that in the section where it asks for your itinerary, you can actually upload your, at least on the Brazilian website. I don't know what iVisa does, but like we can say from the global VFS Global official site, when it asks for your itinerary, if you don't have your flights yet, and it's only the one into Brazil, you don't need your domestic flight, you can actually upload your passport again. It actually tells you that when you're filling out the application. So you can do it today, even if you don't have your tickets yet. And all these things, the VFS website, all the details, we'll provide in a summary link on AO's website. So again, this right here, everything that I'm telling you that you need is going to be here. It's not everything you need, but it'll get you to where you need to go to get the information for your visa. All right, a little bit more. So like I said, it can be found on AmazonOutreach.org. Here's some things we know you're going to need. You've got to have a valid passport. Now, Brazil doesn't require passport to be valid past the point that you're in the country. Now, what we've discovered is VFS Global, the company that does the visas, are saying that you need 6 months on your visa. So we haven't tried the helpline or calling anybody on it. So if you're on a May trip and your passport's only good through June, I would not do anything until I went ahead and tried to apply for a visa, and I would screenshot the entry requirements. It's just wrong, but that's one problem one team member had that's going in April. They didn't tell me this, and they went and they're trying to renew their visa, their passport with just about a month to go, and I don't know if that's even going to be possible. So the rules for the country are different from what the providers of the visa are requiring. So we're going to figure this out as we go. This is brand new to us as well. We'll try to get to the bottom of this so that doesn't happen. If you have your flight itinerary, you can also just download your passport, the picture page of your passport again. And here's the real kicker right here, the passport type photo. We've learned it can't be your passport photo. It's got to be different from that one. And the one thing that's been rejected so many times is this here. People are going to Walgreens or CVS and getting visa or passport photos, and they're still being rejected. We're having people taking them on their phones with a white backdrop and no hat, no glasses, follow all the details, and those are being accepted. So I would recommend to not go get a visa picture. Try to make the picture from your phone work. Keep trying until it goes through. I will say that I just one picture with iVisa, and it was accepted because they knew how to manipulate it to make it work. Now, the last thing, and this is something we're working through right now, and we'll open up for questions here in just a minute if you have any. And again, this is all we know to date, as teams have just now started applying for visas. But if you're under 18, there's extra stuff you're going to need. You're going to need a color copy of the info page of both parents' passports. Now, we don't know yet if your driver's license will work, because we know there's going to be some parents that maybe don't have a passport. So we don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm assuming that an ID will work, but the website says passport. If you don't have one, then I would try driver's license. Minor consent letter, all these we're going to be providing links as we better understand what they're wanting. Authorization of consent letter, a sponsor letter. One of those links that we've given you is a sponsor letter link that we think will work. But our first minors, we have no minors going in April. The minors we do have are going, the one that's going through it right now is trying to give us all the details as he's going through it with his two teenage boys that are going on a trip. We'll get all that information to you as soon as we have it. I'm sorry we don't have more information than we do. But if you're under 18, it's going to take a lot more to get your visa. And so it's best to go ahead and get started now than later. We've had some that have been working on it for 3 weeks and still haven't got it completed. So if you're going in May, it's especially important that you get started on getting your visa. All right. Oh, and a minor's original birth certificate and one copy of it. So you actually, and I think that's for traveling. Again, I'm not sure of all the details. I just know there's a lot more involved with anyone under 18. All right, Priscilla, why don't you wrap us up? We're going to pray and then we'll answer your questions.
Wonderful. Thank you for staying with us, and stay for the questions, but let's go into our next steps. Make sure you're working on your 15-second and 3-minute testimony. Write them down, practice in front of the mirror. Tell someone over and over. Don't forget again to download your WhatsApp, and make sure you're in the right team. You're in the right group for your team. If you don't have that link yet, it's coming to you. Let your leader know which ministry you would like to do. Be praying about that. If you already know, please let them know, but also be open to do other things if that's required from your team. Collect those team supplies and put the packing party on your calendar. So if you have a packing party coming up, make sure you put that in your calendar, and you will be collecting all those supplies. Keep fundraising. If you are not done, make sure you check your Managed Missions account for your next due date that you need to pay. Practice your Portuguese. Managed Missions and our website has a link with all the fun phrases that you can be practicing, and there are other apps that you can use as well that we've talked about. And then make sure you check out the e-visa and important team information. Please keep in mind that this is the information we've had to today, April 13th, 2025. If we have any changes whatsoever, we're going to keep you updated. And thank you and obrigado for going, for seeking training, and for being here with us. If you don't follow us on social media, make sure you do. We are on all social media, Amazon Outreach. Please follow us.
Hi, Priscilla. Priscilla's done a great job on our YouTube channel. There's a playlist for training. So we keep adding to that daily. So I was subscribed to our YouTube channel. So the latest videos you'll get as Priscilla keeps producing great training videos. And we will definitely be producing a visa video. Again, that's just 3 days ago. This went into effect. We were holding our breath, hoping it would go away, but it didn't. So I want to end. We're going to go ahead and have this on the recording, Priscilla. Let's go ahead and just end. I'm going to pray in English, and Priscilla's going to translate in Portuguese just to give you a taste, if you've never done this, of cross-cultural communication. So let's pray, and then we will call it a meeting. Lord Jesus,
Senhor Jesus,
thank you for our time together today.
obrigada pelo nosso tempo juntos hoje.
It is for your name and for your glory,
É para o teu nome e para a tua glória,
because you are worthy.
porque o Senhor é digno.
Lord, use us,
Senhor, nos usa.
prepare the villages for our arrival,
Senhor, prepara as comunidades para a nossa chegada,
let salvation come,
que haja salvação ali naquele lugar.
bring healing and transformation,
Senhor, traz cura e traz transformação.
and teach us as we go.
E, Senhor, nos ensina no caminho enquanto estivermos lá.
Change our hearts,
Senhor, transforma o nosso coração.
pursue your glory.
Senhor, que nós possamos fazer isso para a tua glória.
Thank you for all you're going to do.
Senhor, obrigado por tudo que o Senhor vai fazer.
In Jesus' name,
Em nome de Jesus.
amen.
Amém.
Amen. Thank you for being with us. Let's close out our recording, and we'll